you need to imagine this is your Amazon warehouse posting your parcel. Your parcel comes from point A and has to be shipped to point B. So it's the same with your suitcase. So it's like a spaghetti of belt within your building. And then the model doesn't come with your suitcase on the belt, So it's a space yet to be secured and not to be penetrated by MEP going through above the belt at 10 centimeters. So we actually had a Dynamo script to provide the space proof above the belt to ensure the team would see this in their model. And this is a no-go space for them. You cannot go. There's like a 900 millimeter clearance. This is the max for the belt and the suitcase. And this is it. But you see, these are like very easy example where you can easily implement something that is easy, like low-hanging fruit for the engineering team. They have that information directly into their model. And for me, this is where you need your engineering hat to translate an engineering problem with a digital solution. So you don't worry about the low added value of the information. It's there, and you focus on your design where your brain should be working.
Hi, just a quick one. If you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to subscribe or follow us on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. It really helps us share practical knowledge with more people. And if you want deeper insight, you can also subscribe to our newsletter at digitalconstructionpodcast.com. All right, let's jump in. Hi, Sophie. Welcome to the Digital Construction Podcast. In this episode, we sit down with Sophie Montenot. She's a mechanical engineer turned global digital delivery lead at Surbana Jurong. I'm very excited for this episode because she spent 20 years delivering landmark infrastructure across Middle East, Asia, and Singapore. And now she's working on the Changi Airport Terminal 5 development, but she's worked on so many other projects. So this is a very good opportunity to have a conversation with her. Sophie, before we start, I would like to ask you, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received in your career?
Hi, Andrea, and thanks for having me into your podcast, first of all. The best piece of advice that I have received is probably don't stop until someone tells you to, So I just carry on.
That's a good point.
Yes.
It's a variation of do it and ask for forgiveness. Don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's been my motto in many occasions as well.
Yes, especially when you want to implement things, just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. Let the other people stop you.
Exactly.
So, Sophie, you started your career as a mechanical engineer, but you started I'll try to say it probably in French, in the École Centrale.
That's right.
Yeah, you can probably tell us what the right pronunciation is, which is one of the France's most demanding engineering school. But then at some point, you started developing your career. But what drew you there, and why did you start studying in that school? And how do you think that school has changed your approach to solving complex problems?
Yeah, to be honest, I fell into that school almost by default because I come from a family where my parents are blue collar, so I didn't have any guidance into university, what I should be doing, my parents just encouraged me to do whatever I like and wherever I was good at. And I was good at math, good at science. I like having concrete results. And therefore, because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, I just went and chose the most generic or the school that would offer me the most field that I could study. And before you enter this type of school in France, you actually need to prepare 2 years of intensive course in order to apply for the exam. And once you pass the exam, the school will only pick the first top 100 students out of the exam that has been passed. So during these 2 years, I would say even more than the school training itself, so we have 2 years of intensive training, I have learned to quickly study and to analyze what is the most important in a problem. So that is a way also to learn under pressure, because we have 42 hours of course per week. And each Saturday morning was 4 hours of a test, and you work under pressure all the time. So that has taught us to really quickly adapt to any situation. And then when we were going into the engineering school, it almost was like holidays. It was like, oh my God, this is so easy suddenly. But then I enjoyed the different topics and fields that we were studying. And then, of course, at some point I had to choose. So I went into more mechanical engineering, studying the, how to say, like how a building works as a general topic. And because my teacher at the time at the university, at the school, was telling me that is where you will always find work. You know, there will always be building to be built. There will always be infrastructure to be built, and there will always be something to do. So you will never be out of work, which has been true so far. Yes.
That's totally true. And yeah, I also study engineering, and I found that it was it's a school that it's very useful in life because it helps you think differently, think in a way that is very structured. And even you describe yourself as a mechanical engineer, right? And sometimes I wonder, like, from your point of view, how do you balance this side of yourself where you are very technical, at the same time you need to think about how do you lead with a digital strategy that sometimes can be vague? And is this like the part of your brain that is an engineer create tension with the other side, or do you think that actually reinforces each side reinforces one another?
Actually, I think that because I have the engineering mindset, it makes it easier for me to deal with tools in a way that it's more, it's methodology, you know. So if you are capable as an engineer, you have a methodology to apply, and you need to be quite tedious in your way of applying a strategy. So if that methodology applies to your digital strategy, then it will work the same. And I found that because of being a mechanical engineer, being a mechanical trade, you can't be on your own. You always have to care for others, you know, because you are mechanical. In fine, you have to have the CNS component, you have to have the architectural component. So you can't build a building just on your own without any of that. So you always have to coordinate with external stakeholder, always have to coordinate with your peer within the building. So that's how I found that the mechanical engineering has helped me moving forward, because I've always been coordinating in all the different positions I've been holding.
And after that, after all these studies, you ended up building a global career. You know, there are many people that study engineering or architecture, and they stay where they've studied, that they don't go elsewhere. But there is also a smaller group that try to explore different areas. So you worked in, as I mentioned at the beginning, you worked in Singapore, in Southeast Asia. You mentioned before we started recording that you are moving again.
Yes.
So just unstoppable, right? So nobody has stopped you yet.
No.
So yeah, I was wondering, like, did you build this global career deliberately or just happen organically?
Well, it's funny. I mean, okay, so I'll share a secret. When I was at school, I was really bad in English. I think I had to beg to get my TOEFL at time, because I was like, everybody speaks English. Why should I speak English? And I could speak Spanish better than English when I graduated. But as I started working in Paris, I quickly felt that if I wanted to gain more into my career, I needed to go overseas. It was a myth, I don't know, but this was what I thought. And I was like, in my head, okay, I have a 5-year plan. I need to leave. I go overseas for 5 years. So I took the opportunity to do that with the French government, who actually has a system to send a young graduate into French companies that are posted overseas, which is within a safe environment because you have like contract with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, so which is all set up for you. And I took this opportunity, and this is how I landed in Shenzhen. But then once I landed in Shenzhen, then you get the virus. You want to discover more, you want to do more, and then I started to learn English better. So you don't want to stop and go back just yet. You keep doing it, and I guess also I'm a very curious person. I love people. I love culture. I don't mind working with different type of personalities. So I just feel that I need this to motivate me always. This melting pot of different culture, different approach, and when you are on large-scale project, you end up being on the multicultural teams, which is very interesting to learn how those people have learned engineering in their home country. It's a very different approach, and I love playing with the best of everyone.
Yeah, good point. And the part where you mentioned Paris resonates with me a lot because I'm from Rome in Italy. Yes. And I study engineering. I realized that Rome I wanted to work on large projects, and then I was looking at the size of the big buildings we have in Rome, and not many really. Like the largest one has been built 2,000 years ago is probably the Colosseum. So, and that's why I moved to Australia. So Paris is a little bit different. You have a couple of buildings, but still nothing compared with the infrastructure you can see in Singapore or in China. It's very different. And speaking about these different countries, did you find, so you worked in Middle East, in Singapore, in China, and in Europe. What are the differences between working in these parts of the world? What did you find?
Yeah, I mean, like from the digital perspective space, right? So I found that Singapore was such a nice environment to work because the government is pushing for those digital mandate into the industry. So they have a plan and they just deploy the plan. Everyone is aware, no more choice. There is a deadline and this is it. It's enforced into every project, etc. So I was lucky to embrace that journey actually. So since 2014, the BIM is mandated in Singapore as part of the Building Construction Authority. So this is rolled out since. And that has been proven successful because you've got no choice. What I found it more difficult is that when you don't have that mandate, so the mandate comes from the client, but then it's like, it's very hard to come together as a team and everyone is pushing into the same direction because obviously if it's not mandated across the industry, you will have big players who are more advanced than others. And because it can also be costly at the beginning. So that's how Singapore, I found it did it well. It's like, we are going to mandate, but we can also provide you training. We can fund your company to actually invest in your technology stack. So they will be helping you to achieve what you need at the time of the mandate. So I have worked in the Middle East at the time was 2010, 11. I don't know how it was. There were no mandate at the time, apart from the client wanting, or we were also the company saying, okay, by the way, we can propose you to work in digital, but you need to have the entire team, right, to embrace that. Not so easy. So I can see different paths. I guess now it has evolved a little bit more, and I'll be curious to see this in my next chapter of life.
Nice. And you touched on Singapore, and you worked on a project called the Sport Hubs.
Yes.
Which was a defining project for the region. And can you share with us what was your role in the digital delivery of this project, and what did you learn from that project?
Yeah, so the Sports Hub is actually the national stadium of Singapore, which is not only the stadium, but there is a full complex all around. There's a multi-purpose indoor arena, an aquatic center, actually a mall. So it was a full complex around that stadium. That was the first building, large-scale project in Singapore using BIM during construction. So we were in kind of because the consultants were using it, but I was working for the contractor at the time, and my role was MEP coordinator for all the mechanical and electrical trades. And it was the first time ever that a contractor will take on board the digital strategy. It was not yet mandated by the government, but we thought that it has absolutely enormous added value in bringing everyone using BIM to do coordination, but also to do the design. So we took over some of the consultant BIM model. When the consultants were not ready, because it was not mandated, we only took schematic level drawings, and then we built again the BIM model at the time. When it came to doing MEP, it was, first of all, I was 10 years back, so it was quite new also for me to embrace that journey, because you are learning not only the new tools that are on the market, and you need to convince your team this is the correct way to do it, change their habits. Moving from AutoCAD to Revit, at the time they were not work cloud sharing Revit, it's just like Revit server. So it's like old times of doing collaboration, but we managed it and we delivered the project few 10,000 drawings later. And when you are on construction, obviously you provide the drawings for construction. So they must be coordinated, clash-free. So that has a massive value. It was a steep learning curve, but everyone, and we were like delivering on very short time. I think it was like almost like, it's a design and build project. From the demolition of the previous stadium to the end, it was 7 years. So it was really very fast track. And that entire team, I have to say, is still like a big family. We are connected no matter where people have gone through, the world, different company. Each time that we talk about the sports hub on LinkedIn, everyone thumb up, it's a big family, because we know we have done a lot of work together. It was hard at time, but highly rewarding.
Yeah, it's very nice experience. I feel lucky that I've experienced something similar in some projects here in Sydney as well. You can really feel how the group stick together when you've been spending so much time under pressure to deliver on a specific deadline. Another project you are working on and you've worked on for a while is the Changi Terminal 5. So it's one of still in Singapore, which is one of the most watched infrastructure projects in the world. It's huge. Also, the airport is beautiful. When we think about the role of engineering BIM leading a project like that of that scale, what does the role demand that a standard BIM lead role doesn't demand if you compare with a normal project?
I think the complexity of this project from that role's perspective is really the coordination, first of all, of all your internal stakeholder. So the internal stakeholder, actually Changi T5 is a very complex project. We were working on the master building, which is the terminal building itself, where we are already in JV. So you have to align, first of all your internal stakeholder as being your JV partner and the architectural consortium, which was under a different JV setup. Then you need to interface with all the different projects that are around the terminal building. So Changi East as a project is massive. We are the biggest piece of the cake, but around us there is tunnels that are going back to T2. There are tunnels that are crossing the entire length of T5 terminal. You have all the ancillary buildings around. You have the master civil buildings around, which is crazy, right? So many different stakeholders, internal, external, understanding the contract issue between each and every one is also an issue. And fortunately, I've learned on the job. I have different roles. When I first joined, actually, I was the mechanical digital lead for the consortium. And then I had an opportunity to become the digital lead. So fortunately for me, in a way, I had a smaller remit at the beginning of the project where I could have the time to absorb and learn all of these different mechanisms in between the different teams, that when I was having the opportunity to get onto the BIM lead, then I was in a more comfortable situation to understand the gap in between each and every team, and then I could deploy the strategy more like peacefully, I would say.
Yeah.
It's a
And one
lot
of
of job. I've been on the
yeah,
project for 7 years, and so I changed lately, but the team is still ongoing, right? There's still a lot of job, and it's been delayed a little bit in terms of some of the work packages that will take place later, etc. But yeah, it's a full-time job.
yeah, interesting. I was at Arup when the project started, and
Yes.
I remember, I chatted, I remember with somebody, and somebody mentioned the size of the airport compared with the size of the nation Singapore,
Yes.
and it was. I can't remember what as a fraction what it is, like maybe a 30th or something. But it's significant. Like
Yes.
not many other countries have an airport that is that big compared with the land that they have. And I wonder, like, so this project is very dense and complex, as you mentioned, like MEP installation. And how do you structure the coordination process in a project like that across the terminal?
Yeah. So for me, because there's obviously hundreds of engineers who are going to use whatever you want to deploy as a digital strategy. And I always think that the easier you deploy something, the easier it is to almost kind of self-learn a tool, the best. It should be a way of you open your platform and it's like immediately you understand what is the setup of the project. And also because we were 3 JV partners, all coming with different tool stack, technology stack, different approach, different way of doing things. The hardest was to harmonize our approach to become the JV partner. So we were called SAM for the acronyms of the first letter of our companies. And it has to be SAM when it reached the client. So no matter what you are doing under your parent company, you forget about it, you have to follow the project setup. But that was the challenge. But you are asking something else, right? Can you ask? Because I was on MEP, right?
I was the coordination of MEP because
Yeah,
it's very dense in a
and
building
the
like that.
coordination of the MEP, we took it well. It was kind of overwhelming if you look at the one level. Even if you just look at one level, it's like few, like 1,000 square meters. So we had to agree with what is important to the client to be coordinated. What is important that you have, like front-end items that will be looked by the architect, where the MEP coordination have to be completely hidden. Again, the MEP should never be seen. It's almost something that is seamless in the building, but there are things that needed more care. And therefore, we tackled those items by priority, by zones, with the client. Everything that was back of house, no problem. Technical plant rooms, technical corridors, this were tackled in parallel by our teams. But we were using our coordination meetings almost, like it's not every day with the architect, so you have a cycle of looking at the design coordination first, then you go into the model, you review the model, you assign issues. Where I found it very challenging is addressing issues is one thing, closing issues or monitoring the closure of those issues, it's really difficult. So we try to stay within the cloud environment, always distributing all issues everywhere. You cannot avoid markup on the side, etc. So that is also what we face. Is like you cannot just have a solution in typing into the BCF issues, field. It doesn't work this way. The person behind the screen needs to understand what the engineers mean. If you want it to be corrected, etc. So I found the volume, in fact, of the information was the most challenging way of dealing with this project. Our engineers, we had that many engineers, but again, I think that was the challenge, is the volume of information to deal with on a daily basis was tremendous. And I think they're still doing coordination as far as I'm concerned. It's not finished. And that's always the challenge, is to ensure that we provide to our client the best coordination. It cannot be clash-free, because design consultant would only offer up to LOD 300. Obviously, you cater for construction allowances, such as the supports and all the fittings, etc. But when we pass it on to the contractor to carry on, there will be another round of coordination. And of course, there are also some equipment that will change at the time of the procurement and so on. So this will always affect. So when it comes to MEP coordination, honestly, it's always tricky to deliver something perfect to the client, because at some point this will be impacted by the selection of the final equipment on site.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Thank you for sharing that, because sometimes people work on smaller projects that are managed and manageable by humans. The projects of these size, it looks like you have to prioritize. You have to make your own trade-off, right? So, and still at the end of the day, you have a beautiful piece of infrastructure, something incredible that will serve generations. It's incredible. It's also interesting to see how the approach changes depending on the size of the project.
Yeah, that's right.
Another aspect of your work, which is something that we don't see very often, is certain systems. So one is called the baggage handling system, and another one is called the automated people mover. So these are probably components that you see in airports, you don't see in your normal average building. Can you share with us how did it feel to work on these type of things, and what they are and how they work? How do you coordinate them? Anything?
Yes. So this was under one package under our contract, and they are almost like BHS actually is the backbone of your airport, right? So you don't go into an airport without having to deal with baggage. This is my engineering hat, which I really enjoy doing as a technical interface. So I had to integrate both design, the BHS and the APM design, and ensuring that our engineering team would provide the necessary, can be structural load, can be electrical load, can be ACMV, etc., that is required for their system to be completely plug and play into the building. And obviously, you have structural constraint, architectural constraint, etc. Pure coordination job. And my hat of having a mechanical engineering obviously was the best fit, because you would understand all the different components of their system. And then having the digital hat actually allowed me to provide them a new perspective of dealing with their problem, providing them a visual when it comes to integrating information, which it seems not to have done that before. And I'm like, it's funny that you think that digital only come at the end of a process, where it should be actually used at the very beginning to help you make the best decision of your design, because these are the supportive tools, right? So at the beginning, they were like, oh, okay, we can see this. And then they were asking more, oh, can we see this? And can we see this section? And what does it mean? So they were actually, the team actually enjoyed and embraced the journey of using digital tools to do the interface and the coordination around those two systems. And it was nice to see that they embraced the journey to achieve. And then the result is that the client was really happy, Changi, to also see this type of result. So that was a successful experience anyway for me.
Yeah, that's great. And that makes me think that often in this podcast we have people that have sometimes contrarian views related to BIM and the fact that sometimes people even think that BIM shouldn't exist. I know this is a digital construction podcast, right? But I think it's also the right space to think about what we do and think about are we actually doing because it's useful or not, or we do it because now there is this momentum continuing to build digital models. And I was wondering, from your point of view, if there is any specific moments that you can think while you were working on T5 in Changi, where having a digital model made a concrete difference in making, for example, decisions, or could be faster or better decision, just because you had the data and not despite you had the data?
Yeah, and I think my best experience again was with using the digital space applied to the VHS and applied to the APM, only because, for example, the VHS model comes with a belt. You need to imagine this is your Amazon warehouse posting your parcel. Your parcel comes from point A and has to be shipped to point B. So it's the same with your suitcase. So it's like a spaghetti of belt within your building. And then the model doesn't come with your suitcase on the belt, So it's a space yet to be secured and not to be penetrated by MEP going through above the belt at 10 centimeters. So we actually had a Dynamo script to provide the space proof above the belt to ensure the team would see this in their model. And this is a no-go space for them. You cannot go. There's like a 900 millimeter clearance. This is the max for the belt and the suitcase. And this is it. But you see, these are like very easy example where you can easily implement something that is easy, like low-hanging fruit for the engineering team. They have that information directly into their model. And for me, this is where you need your engineering hat to translate an engineering problem with a digital solution. So you don't worry about the low added value of the information. It's there, and you focus on your design where your brain should be working.
Yeah, this is very good because it's something relatively simple but very impactful. And yeah, thanks for sharing this. I would like to talk about your global role at the moment as Surbana Jurong. And of course, you come from mechanical, and now you understand how engineers think, right? So sometimes you work in a company like Surbana Jurong or Arup or Ecom, like these large companies that tend to have a digital strategy. They all have a digital strategy because they have digital leaders that produce digital strategies. And sometimes it's hard to look at that digital strategy and think, how is this useful at project level, right? So people are delivering projects, they're thinking, okay, there is a digital strategy. How do I reconcile the generic digital strategy? I guess the question is, how do you produce a digital strategy that needs to be generic enough that then can be applied across a large number of projects and regions and type of building, potentially type of infrastructure, but at the same time you make it useful at project level so people can actually look at it and implement it?
Yes. Yeah, it's a very good question and a very challenging one, especially within SJ Group. So SJ has acquired multiple companies over the last 10 years or so, from different backgrounds as well, and they are in different regions. So now we are trying to consolidate a little bit what everyone has been doing at their best within the digital world, and we try to consolidate and harmonize. And the difficult things when you acquire and merge companies is the legacy. People are used to do something, but they need now to change to become the SJ Group standard. So we are trying to manage this, obviously, because it could create frustration at the user level, which we don't want to. We need to honor also the legacy, because there are things that are very good that we want to ensure can be leveraged in order for the entire group to actually enjoy those wins. And create visibility and awareness also is one of our challenge at the moment that we are addressing. So within this global remit, I am kind of rediscovering what I was doing as a BIM lead for T5 with a complete agnostic hat for the group, making sure that everyone, all my stakeholders, which are my internal customers and brands, are served equally across regions and across the brands. And it is not easy, but again, I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah, definitely. And people, sometimes it happens that people like you that end up having like these global roles in digital end up having multiple hats, like you mentioned that before. And you also sit on the IATA working group, which is a very niche space. So I'd like to take this as an opportunity just to learn more about it. If you can share with us what it is and what type of conversation are happening in that group, and that the digital construction industry should be pay attention to.
Yes. So this working group is actually part of a more wider working group. We are all working under a different work stream for IATA for the next version of the ADRM, which is the Airport Design Manual Reference for operators, designers. It's a guide, it's a reference, but it's not a mandate. But if you were tomorrow to build an airport from scratch, you could use this manual, and they give you rule of thumb, how to plan, what to expect, what to foresee, what to forecast, and do also take into account future technology so that your airport can be future-proof. So I sit under this IATA BHS working group because I wanted to share the experience also on the Changi T5. Also because for having worked with them before, they are very much European-centric on the example that they provide, because I have attended a few of their courses that are related to this manual. And all the examples they provide are very European-centric. And unlike here in Asia, we have a large-scale airport. So some of the examples I was telling them are almost not relevant. They never applied. So it doesn't help your end customer because these are unique. You go to Beijing, you will go to Singapore, India. So they have like large-scale airports. So we needed to provide back this experience. And for me, within this working group is also the opportunity to hear what are the other challenges, like they also have challenges on the VHS technical point of view. But I was also wanted to bring them like the fresh perspective with the digital aspect of coordinating things, anticipating information when it comes to fire strategy, escape strategy within the building, etc., etc. So it's been good. Actually, I have a call with them later tonight because we are wrapping up, and the next version is to be published next year. So I've been very happy actually to work with all these different people again, because I'm a very curious person and I like to meet a lot of different backgrounds.
Very nice. And on a slightly separate topic, you built your career across a male-dominated environment or industry across multiple countries, and now you are involved in a role that at the moment you are the chair of the scholarship committee for women in aviation Singapore. So when you look at the situation for women in the construction industry, there are certainly gaps. Do you think that the industry at the moment is looking at the places where the gaps are for real, or to just getting distracted and maybe looking in the wrong place?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I didn't know that the industry would be like this. So when I first joined, I was like, even when I went to my engineering school, I was like 10 out of 156, 10 women. I was like, what's going on? And that's why when they asked me, actually, I said to the lady who was running the Women in Aviation here in Singapore chapter, when they launched the scholarship committee, the group, I said, oh, I'm happy to help you. And she's like, you should lead the group. I was like, really? And I was like, yeah, okay. Actually, that resonated to me because uh, you need to bring awareness at a very early stage in school, at school, in the university. I would say the university has probably, they already have made their choice, but bringing them the awareness that those jobs, there's so much different type of job within the industry, be it in aviation, be it in the construction, that it's completely biased by what is visible. You know, like if you go into the aviation, become a pilot, become an air steward, there's a lot of different job diversity within the life cycle, within the ecosystem of aviation. And same for construction. And everyone has a role to play, for me anyway. And there is, the most important is to ensure that the men are part of the room. The men can see also that it should not matter. For me, a mathematical scientific result is not biased by a gender. It's black or white. Is it right or wrong? So everyone has something to play. But what I am trying to build with this scholarship is creating this awareness and a safe place for these ladies to come into the industry in peace. You know, like they don't worry about the environment in which they will work. And by having more women in the leadership level, trying to lead by example and mentor those young ladies and telling them that it's okay and it's safe. And yes, perhaps there will still be, you know, like some argument around gender. You need to stand for yourself and your value. And that's the way I've always been doing it. So yes, let's push for it.
Yeah, definitely. It's something has to change over time. And I think one of the aspects is that young girls or young women that want to aspire to participate in this industry because they like it, they need to see role model like you, people that have achieved something meaningful in this space, and that will inspire them and potentially make them feel that yes, if Sophie has done it, maybe if I work hard, I can also do it. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. Maybe they will find a different space. Maybe we'll do better. Who knows? But at least having the opportunity to see people like you, I think, can inspire them and give them the energy to pursue this career. When you think about yourself at the beginning of your career, and what do you wish somebody told you at the beginning of your career that now you tell women that you mentor?
I would say trust yourself, follow your dreams, follow your passion. Don't listen to the bias comments. You know, that's probably what I'm saying to the girls. And it's also very cultural here in Asia. I realize that there is a strong push from the family. You should become this, you should become that. This industry is safer for you. But is it safer? And then at the end, you will not be happy, you know, because it's not what you wanted to do. So stand for yourself. That will probably be my advice. Follow your dream, follow your passion, and, you know, like, don't listen to others.
Thank you very much, Sophie. We are at the end of the episode. This was a great episode, very inspiring, and I hope many people will watch it and find the inspiration I found speaking with you. If people want to reach out to you or follow your work, where is the best place to find you?
LinkedIn, I think this is the easiest. You can find me. and you can reach out. I'm not on premium account or whatsoever, so it's easy to send me a message. So please do.
Sophie, thanks us for sharing your journey with us across all the continent and disciplines. Thank you for joining us on the Digital Construction Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Andrea.